Hi, this is Pete Lyons with Let's Play Salesforce, and in tonight's Tableau CRM video, or should I say Einstein Discovery video, we're joined again by Bobby Brill, coming back to the channel for, I believe, the 6th time, including certain things that may or may not have happened. So yeah, hey, thanks for coming out, and let's dig right in. Let's see some cool summer 21 stuff.
All right, so I am going to start by, as you can see, I'm in a Salesforce report. I know we're talking about Einstein Discovery, but I'm going to take you into a Salesforce report. The spring 21 release, we gave you an update to the Einstein Data Insights tool. Well, in summer 21, I think everyone is going to want to use this feature. And in fact, we think it's so good, we even renamed it from Einstein Data Insights to Einstein Discovery for Reports. So I'm looking at my opportunities data, and I've already done some analyses on this. So as you can see, I was looking at maximizing the winning opportunities, and I did this about 9 days ago. So when I click into this, there's a couple things you're going to see here. There's a nifty little, this analysis is more than 1 week old, refresh it to get the latest insights. So I'm going to just go ahead and do this. We're going to see some magic here, something that I've always wanted to do in a report and just never had the ability to do. So what I can see here is this nice little summary here. And I can see that my win rate is actually down from my previous refresh. So I'm looking at report data and I'm actually comparing to an old report, which is crazy. I've never been able to do this in a report before. So if I click in here, now I can see on the left-hand side, I can compare this version versus a previous analysis of it. So if I'm looking at winning opportunities or what's driving winning opportunities, I can now compare from 1 week ago or about 9 days ago, the difference. So number fields, the way that we do bucketing of number fields is dynamic based on the data. So you potentially are going to run into this issue where the buckets don't match, but we still have 10 buckets. So I can kind of see here the range of 0 to 10, and this is elapsed days in sales stage. So I can see on the left-hand side is the current, and on the right-hand side is the comparison. So you can see the bucket range change, and that's why we say bucket 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's still 10 buckets, and then it's going to highlight the things that are kind of higher or lower. And again, this is all based on likely or the percentage of one. So if I keep scrolling down, let me go to one that's a text. So now I can see opportunities by the route to market. And it's going to pull out the things that actually are, increased with this version or decreased. So I have certain, in this case, I have certain route to markets that are actually a little bit lower now than they were 9 days ago. So the win rate for these are down. So potentially I could, as a sales manager, I potentially could go into this and try to figure out kind of what's going on. Why are these lower? So I think this is a really great feature, and anyone who's tried Einstein Data Insights in the past, I definitely encourage everyone to come back to this. And now that you can compare different versions, I think there's a lot of value here for really every business user. All right, so I'm gonna now flip into an Einstein prediction. So we were looking at a record. We made some enhancements to the lightning card. So it might look a little bit fresher. In fact, we filled in these green and red arrows. So they used to, like, I don't know, it's a much better icon. It's a little bit easier to see. We worked a lot on accessibility. That was a big piece of our release. So you're going to see accessible features across all of Tableau CRM.
Oh yeah,
in fact,
lots of fun changes. Lots of fun changes.
Some slight color changes as well, and just it's a lot better. It's so much more usable. So I'm glad we finally did it. But so in the process of doing the accessibility changes, I wanted to push a few changes to this card. So first thing you're going to see is the ability to turn on the comparison. So if I got a prediction, I can actually compare versus either the last change or the value last week. So if you're looking at a record and the prediction maybe is up or down, you can actually track it within the lightning card. It's just it's something that you can do if you want. It's a setting in the setup. The next thing, this is probably the biggest piece of feedback I've gotten since people have been using the Einstein Discovery predictions in the lightning card. we have this great how to improve this. So when we give you a prediction, we're going to tell you, and you tell us the action variables or the drivers that, or the levers someone can pull to actually improve the outcome. And we'll evaluate the different values of those, and we'll present them. And if you have a variable that might have multiple values, before we would actually list, so this field supplier subgroup is a field here. We would tell you all the different supplier subgroups, and it would just kind of be listed here. And we got a lot of feedback saying, why don't you just group those together? So that's exactly what we did. So if I click this little arrow, and you're only going to see this arrow for any improvement that is multiple values for the same variable. So now I can visually see, here's my current prediction based on the current value. And I can see, hey, if I increased, or if I changed my supplier subgroup to this car electronics, that's going to increase it even more. But I also might get an increase if I change it to exterior accessories. So we're just trying to make this a little bit more usable and user-friendly. And the next kind of big change we did, there's a lot of use cases where you can predict or you can do the time it's going to take for a process to complete. So for opportunities, you could build a model for the time to close for that opportunity. And I said, well, why don't we just turn that into a date? People are deriving you can create a predicted close date field using a formula. And I said, why can't we just put it in the lightning card using the same logic? Ignore this comment. That's a bug. This is what you get when the release is, it just came out. So this bug will be fixed, and you also won't see the dots. But as you can see, I'm now predicting a date versus the time that it takes to close the opportunity. We can also do the time remaining. So if you tell us a date that this was created, or whatever date that your prediction is based off of, using kind of relative calculation, will tell you the days remaining as well. So that's another option. And then we have this learn about this model. In the spring release, we introduced this thing called Model Card, and it was a pilot. With the summer 21 release, it's now GA, Model Card is GA, and you can optionally add a link to every lightning card so that users can really understand more about what that model is. So I can optionally fill out things like, what's the intended use case? Who are the primary intended users? What are some out of scope use cases as well? I'm going to get some training metrics as well as, who last updated. Go ahead.
The flavor text is cracking me up on the out of scope.
I know, that's it's true though. To be perfectly honest, it's a real thing that happens. So that's why I threw that in here. I can also download this as a PDF. So it's yet another kind of very useful tool that gives a little bit more kind of explainability, or our models are a lot more kind of what is the word I'm trying to look for? Every user can really understand what this model is supposed to do, and it's a lot easier for kind of users to really believe in our models, I guess is one way to put it.
I think transparency is what
transparency. That's it. I appreciate that. Yeah, so our models are a lot more transparent now. So let me just show you where you can set that up. So if I go into Model Manager, for any prediction that you have here, you can click into. Oops, let me go into one that actually has it. For any prediction here, you can click on the prediction definition at the top. You're going to see this model card link. So from the model card, you can choose which predictions have it, and there's a lot more detail that you can put in the card than I had in there. So if you see all these areas, these are things that you could fill out if you want to. Anything you don't fill out is just going to be left. It's not going to be included on the model card. For this binary classification model, I think the other one was regression. You also get the confusion matrix. So this is based on the training set, and you get a little bit more details of that data, especially if there was any ethical considerations or any disparate impact detected. It's going to show up on the model card. All right. The next thing I want to show you is Model Manager is a really useful tool, but some of the charts didn't show up unless you deployed to using the automated prediction field. But as you know, we have Einstein Discovery and Tableau now. And there's a lot of use cases where you're just going to get your predictions directly in Tableau, such as predicted employee engagement, or let's say predicted retention score. Here's an example. Before, I would not actually see this chart. We didn't calculate the number of predictions or the prediction warnings. We didn't have that anywhere because they only came through that automated prediction process. And now we get all of these performance metrics, regardless of whether it's deployed to a object in Salesforce with a prediction field. Maybe you're using the recipes to make your predictions. Now you're going to get the counts and the performance warnings in here. And we're making it a little bit easier to consume. So we're giving you this date range, so I can look at the past 30 days where I'm basically grouping by day. I can go back 3 months, and now we're grouping by week. And then I can go 6 months or all time, and that's where we're grouping by month. So we had all this stuff in the back end. So in fact, if you have data already, we collected it for some of these things. So hopefully it should just show up for a lot of these use cases. So it's a little bit more usable. And now it's kind of monitoring for all of the prediction cards. All right, so next, I want to show you something pretty cool. We made some enhancements to story setup. So I don't know about you, but I use Lens to slice and dice my data. It's really easy to filter and kind of see what's in my data. So if I'm building a predictive model, I'm probably going to use a Lens to explore that data set before I actually create the story. And a lot of times I'm going to be filtering things because, or I'm looking at my training set and I want to filter out certain things. For instance, let's look at my lead source. In this case, I want to exclude all of my leads that are partner sourced. So I'm just going to type in here, partner, and I want to exclude partner referral, reseller, unified partner sign up, trial force partners. These are just some, it's some generic lead data, and these are just some sources. So I'm going to say does not equal, and I want to apply that. So now I'm ready to actually build my predictive model. So I'm going to click create story, and I'm going to choose my field. So I'm looking at leads, converted leads. I want to maximize converted leads, and we're going to go into the full manual mode. So look at that filter that I had on the Lens applies here. So we're trying to inherit the filters that you've put on the Lens and apply it directly to the story. So I don't have to do it. It's kind of a clunky interface if I were to do it here, because by default, like first of all, no one knows that there's this add to other and excluded. So we're trying to make it a little bit more useful.
So question on that.
Yeah.
How does that play with high cardinality fields? Like if you have, like, because for example, I noticed that the filters are always exclusive and not inclusive. So what if you got a field that has like 500 values and you only want to run your prediction on like 5 of them?
That's a really great question. So with this release, the filters that are inherited are only exclusion filters for text fields, and for number fields, we have a little bit more. We can do greater than, we can do less than, and we can do between, I believe. So numbers are a little bit better, but text fields, we are working on supporting the inclusive filter as well in a future release. So it is a challenge to do that for high cardinality fields. I think the best alternative approach for that is data prep to pre-filter your training data set for now, until we can give you that feature. So I'm actively pushing for inclusive filters, because I would say that when I go to a Lens and I'm filtering, anytime I'm looking at text, I'm usually choosing the ones that I want, as opposed to what I did here was exclude the ones I didn't want. So yes, yeah, we're gonna do it at some point.
Yeah, a prep based solution does make a lot of sense too, because I mean, it just makes sense. Like it's easier to just not have those rows there in the first place. I would suppose.
No, absolutely. But there's a couple other things you're looking at here. There's a transformation. So I don't know about you, but if I have a lead and I let people fill in the title, their own title, there's going to be many ways that they're going to type things in. And so we want to solve that problem. We want to be able to group things that are similar, or certain text that's similar. We want to group those into unique values. And typically someone would do what's called the typographical clustering algorithm to do that. So we built that in. So now we have this list of transformations. So fuzzy matching, I feel like typographical clustering is a little bit intimidating for the types of users on Discovery. And I think fuzzy matching makes a little bit more sense. So we have this fuzzy matching algorithm. And then as you'll see here, we also have sentiment analysis. This is actually in pilot in the summer release. So we'll be able to actually apply the same sentiment analysis model that's in recipes. We'll be able to apply it directly in Discovery. And the reason why you want to do that here rather than in a recipe is if you apply it to the story, then when we make the prediction, we know to also apply that model on the live data as well. So this is why fuzzy matching and sentiment you want to do at discovery time, or when you build the model, so that at prediction time it's going to also apply it.
Yeah,
let me show you
really
fuzzy matching.
And I think it's probably worth calling out I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that so I remember when we were at it was like one of the partner camps, or the partner summit or something, and when we were first learning about the sentiment analysis features that were going to be available in data prep, the question that was asked was, are we able to train our own models like you do with Einstein language? And the answer was that that is not correct. It is based on a global value set shared across all orgs. Is that correct?
This particular sentiment analysis model is a global model for all. However, we are actively working on an interface to be able to support custom models as well. In fact, one of the pilots that I'm going to show you is a bring your own model pilot. For now, that's just used for the Einstein Discovery predictions, back using the prediction API. However, what we're working on, this is, I guess, super forward-looking statement here, but we want to be able to use that same bring your own model architecture to hopefully let you build your own sentiment analysis models or whatever, and plug those in as well. So that is our overall intent with bring your own model. So we'll see where we end up with that. Nice,
because the use cases that I'm thinking of are, it's not something like title or for fuzzy matching. First use case that pops into my mind for fuzzy matching is that the one place that you can almost always find dirty data in every org is going to be the state and country fields. That
absolutely,
it's garbage data. I actually have like a couple of compute expression snippets that end up in half the orgs I work in, that basically it's designed to chop up what might be a full address, or might just be a zip code, or might just be someone spelling wrong, and hopefully get us to a 2-character state. Now, I imagine a global value set is fine for those sort of use cases, but where I'm seeing that there'd be a gap, and the reason I asked in the first place is, what if you get into a vertical that has very nuanced vertical specific vocabulary? And you can't, it's not reasonable to ask you guys to code for such nuanced, like, it's a big enough language as it is.
Absolutely.
And foreign language support as well. So yeah, nice to know that it is in consideration.
Yes, absolutely. So with fuzzy matching, it's like I said, a typographical clustering algorithm, which is called Levenshtein edit distance. And when we had this as a pilot in the spring release, and some of the feedback from the pilot, they asked some of the more advanced users who knew what this was used for, said, hey, it would be great if we can actually edit the distance threshold. So we thought we'd throw that in here. It's an advanced feature. So I can go 0, 1, 2, 3 are some options. And as you can see, it dynamically updates as I change it. But what's really the thing that I very much fought for, because I've seen this problem so many times, is adding this lovely checkbox to let the users decide whether or not they want to ignore the case. So I don't know about you, but have you ever built well, I don't know how much you're using Discovery, but if you ever take an Excel file, so you've taken data, you have an Excel file that has true false. Excel will always make true false all caps. That's just what it does. So when it handles those Boolean fields, it's going to make those all caps. If you have a checkbox field in Salesforce, it's actually all lowercase. And so if you're trying to take a true false value that you happen to be using in Excel, and you upload the CSV here, and you've got your all caps true false, and you deploy it and you connect it to a checkbox field in Salesforce, we actually don't know what to do with that, because by default we're always matching the case. So we're going to look at a fully we're going to be expecting all caps, and we're only going to get lowercase. So this actually solves that problem as well, which for me, that's a bigger problem. I don't know.
See my earlier comments on state fields, like NY lowercase is different from NY capital.
Right.
And you're always kind of rolling the dice. You could have 6 different permutations for how a state is identified, and only one of them is going to render on a map.
Right. Exactly. All right, so that's what we're doing with text fields. So we have those 2 transformations. We in fact are building out a team to do more transformations like that. So apply it at the story, and then you get at prediction time, we'll take care of everything. For number fields, I think the thing that in this type of prediction model where we're looking at leads, a lot of times you have null fields, and in this case, like. So I have this field response time from assignment. So this is looking at leads and how long did it take to go from when it was assigned to when someone responded on it, right? Well, if you have a new lead, this is going to be null. You're not going to have this information because it's not going to be assigned yet. It's just going to be created. So what we can do, because this might be a really important variable, although pretend this is a higher correlation. So let's say it's a really important variable. We can do, when we see null values, we can do what's called impute missing values. So in the past, if we did see null and we happen to train the model with nulls, we would treat all nulls exactly the same. But a lot of times you don't want to do that. You want to treat nulls a little bit differently depending on some of the other category variables. So if I check off this box, impute missing values, I can replace with the average from a different variable. So in this case, leads are coming in, and based on the source, that's going to really determine the response time, because that has to do with my assignment. So I'm going to, if I see null, instead of treating it as null, I'm actually going to take the average for this variable lead source. So it's going to look at all of the response times from assignment. It's going to look at each this row's lead source, and it's going to say, okay, for this lead source, this was the average. It's going to replace it with that. So it's going to handle it a little bit better than we did in the past. So then I can go ahead and create this story. And instead of waiting for that, I'm going to just open. Is this the one I just created? I think so. Maybe this one. Just created it. I don't remember which one it was. I think this is the one I want. So now when you open the story, there's 2 new summary cards available. So I love the summary card. I don't necessarily want to scroll through all of the amazing charts that we've made. So I said, hey team, hey, what if we could just summarize like the top positives and the top negatives? And we have first order and second order. So what we're doing, what you'll see here is we have the top 5 first order, the top 5 second order, and then the bottom 5 first order and second order, all based on, in this case, above average and below average. So it all depends on what you did for minimize, whether you chose minimize or maximize, and what type of variable. So what we get here is immediately I can see, and it's just statistical analysis. So when do I see converted leads the most? Well, when the lead source is null. Yeah, that's happens when you have bad data. Lead source is inbound call. And then here I got some second order when number of employees is between 196 and 500, and response time from creation is unspecified. So we order by the, I guess in this case, the conversion rate. So positive to negative. So I can click on any one of these and it's going to open up the card. So in this case, I see lead source is null. Right now, there's not really a card for second order. So you'll see two links. So I can either go to number of employees is 60 to 195, and I would have to then scroll down to response time. In fact, it's going to be the first one. So it happens that when I clicked on that, this was the insight that it was highlighting. So this the summary cards are really useful for the story, and they're also available via the new Insights API. So if you want to take those summary insights and you want to put them somewhere other than a story, we have a public API to do that. So in fact, that's how we've integrated in the Revenue Ops app. We're using that API to populate story insights in a dashboard. So look for a lot more to come in the future, but until then, there's a lot that a developer could do today with that API.
Yeah, and I still can't figure out how to do it through the UI because I assume that it just doesn't exist yet. But I was able to kind of replicate some of the stuff on Revenue Ops. For those of you who have not yet tried it out, spin up Revenue Ops. It's awesome.
Yeah,
also,
a lot of that there's some special things that are done behind the scenes for that app. So there's nothing in the UI yet to be able to build that.
Yep, but then question, when exposing it on a public or externally through the API, how does that work from a licensing consideration? I'm assuming that an integration user would need to be created and log in, and that user would have to have a license.
That's correct. So
okay.
It works the same way the prediction API works, where whoever's accessing it or whatever user is accessing the API needs to be fully licensed.
Okay.
All right, and the last thing I want to show here is another pilot that I'm really excited about. So Discovery in the past has solved problems for predicting a number or predicting a binary classification. But what about multi-class classification? So an example, you have a bunch of service cases, and when a service case closes, the team typically buckets them into some sort of case disposition. And what if you could predict what disposition a case is going to go into before it's actually closed? So that's where the multi-class classification analysis could work. There's a lot of different possibilities here, but I'm going to start by creating a story. And this particular data set has a field with it's got 10 different I think there's 10 in here. In fact, that's the max. We can look at fields with up to 10 different unique values, at least for the pilot. So if I choose this case disposition field, you'll notice there's no minimize maximize. When we're doing a multi-class classification model, you're not really like minimizing or maximizing. You're just trying to predict which kind of, in this case, I'm going to be able to predict which case disposition should I do. We don't have story insights. We just have a predictive model, at least for the pilot. We're working on trying to generate some statistical analysis. So right now it's predictions only, and I can do my automated or manual, and then you can see there's no correlation because when we're doing multi-class, that's not really a thing that exists. So we have same kind of variable. And you'll notice algorithm, it's only going to be tree-based algorithms. In fact, we can't do a GLM model for multi-class. So that's it's going to default to GBM because this one's the fastest. So I can go ahead and create the story, but I'm just going to open the one that I already have because I don't like to wait for that. And when you open the story, as you can see, it took me directly to the predictions tab. There is no insights tab. And so what I can do here is I can start populating a row of data, and it's going to give me a prediction. So based on this row of data, these were the inputs, it's predicting that this is going to be an enablement issue. And it's going to show me, here's the probability, here's the next highest classification, and kind of so on down the list. So for the pilot, you'll be able to build a story. You'll be able to look at model metrics. In fact, you can get an AUC for each of the classifications. So, the model might be better to predict one classification over the next. We get a confusion matrix. Again, I can choose the specific classification if I want to look at the confusion matrix specifically for that, or I can look at the confusion matrix for all classes. So it's done as a heat map. So it gives me a little bit better understanding of where it's going to be able to kind of predict better than others. So I'm really excited for this use case because there's a lot of custom, let's say we could put, eventually we can do a custom case classification model. We have a lot of customers that are saying, hey, we want to populate these pick lists automatically when we're creating an opportunity. So we would love to use this to just figure out how to populate that.
So I think it's probably fair to assume that this does not support multi-selects.
Not multi-select, no, that's correct.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to get this to tell me which product I should add to my opportunity.
Right, so that would be a product recommender, which is a come back later and we'll talk.
Okay.
Not a summer release feature, but possibly something coming in the future. There's also the recommendation builder, which is GA from Einstein platform as well.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that's that covers our summer 21 release. As usual, the team is doing a lot of stuff, and I'm really excited to get some of these pilots over the line. So you should see these pilots go GA in the winter release.
So there was only really one thing that crossed my mind to ask that was not covered during the demo, and that was that I noticed you're using a custom object for opportunity. And I always tell my customers, don't do this. But I'm sure there's probably a reason for it. It's a demo environment. But what is it with people that create custom objects for standard ones? I don't know.
So I 100% agree with you. In fact, I really didn't want to create a custom opportunity object, but to build out my demo, I needed to do it. I didn't want to have to worry about creating all the accounts and all the owners and all the things that are required to when you insert records into an opportunity. I didn't want to be limited by that or take the time to do that. So I created a custom opportunity object purely for demo. I tried really hard to make the icon look the same. In fact, I couldn't get the yellow exactly right. And I love that you picked that out. You probably looked at the IDs and said, these are custom object IDs.
Object prefixes don't lie. That was an A03.
Yep.
So that tells me that was so depending on the type of org, if it's like a trailhead environment, you're already going to have a fake opportunity history object, which is going to be your A01. But if that's a real environment, that would actually indicate not only is it a custom object, but it is the third one you created. Yeah.
So no one out there should be creating custom opportunity objects. They should
you.
also not be creating custom case objects. That's another very, very bad thing to do because there's a lot of stuff connected to it. Leads is kind of I take it or leave it because leads.
Contract maybe. The contract status field doesn't play nicely in Lightning. So
quotes is an interesting one because I don't know, as you know, Salesforce CPQ is its own object. It's not the standard quote object, and that's always made me think why can't our own quotes team be using the standard quotes object? But maybe one day it'll get there. Yeah,
we'll have to leave that one as a mystery. All right. So I want to thank you for coming out again. And while I don't try to ever make assumptions, I think at this point my audience kind of assumes that you're going to come and hang out. But that does not mean that it's not appreciated. And to the folks at home, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, and as always, thanks for watching.